Thank you, everyone, for joining today. We're going to do, like everyone, a little PowerPoint and then a live demo. We have a couple of live demos for you. So what you'll see here with deFacto Power Planning is that we have an integrated planning solution. And we say integrated planning, that means both financial and operational data built inside of Microsoft's products. So we're very Microsoft-centric, and we'll touch on that as we go throughout this presentation. Stefan, can you see my screen all right? I just want to make sure and hear me okay.
Perfectly fine.
Okay, great. Okay, so we'll go through a PowerPoint just to give you a little bit of background, then we'll jump into the demo. I'll put up my information at the end again, so you can see and reach out if you have further questions after today. So a little bit about deFacto Global, our company, is that we are an operational and financial performance management ISV for Microsoft. So you'll see, as I mentioned, everything is very Microsoft-centric. Our customers are Fortune 500 to mid-market, so down to mid-market customers worldwide. We are a long-time certified Microsoft partner, probably over 15 years, and a co-sell and inner circle partner with Microsoft. And finally, as I mentioned, we are not only award-winning, but we're based on 100% Microsoft technology, and I'll keep driving that point home as we go here. So not only are we using Power BI, but we're taking advantage of other features and other products that Microsoft brings, and we'll touch on that as we go here. So as I mentioned, our customers are Fortune 500 to mid-market. You can see some examples here. These are some of our larger companies using deFacto in many different ways. So many of these are using deFacto for budgeting and planning. Some are using it for consolidation as well. Some are using deFacto for completely other features, which is really great. Meaning that, like for Hulu, they're using our product for their content forecasting. So as they plan out what they're going to put and make available to customers, right, as far as their lineup goes for next year, they're using deFacto to identify what product or what shows and movies and so forth that they want, and then as well as what the amortization schedule is, so they can see what they are willing to pay and what they can afford as part of that. So again, very different than a traditional kind of CPM example, but it speaks to the flexibility of deFacto Power Planning. Okay. Also, we are, as we mentioned, award-winning. So this is a survey done by BPM Partners, which is an analyst within the CPM space. And you can see over the last 2 years, we've gotten a 9.85 out of 10 compared to many of our competitors here in the CPM space. And we swept 16 different measures like ease of use, like financial self-service, consolidation, budgeting, things like that. And you can see some of those examples here. So a really strong offering, even though, we may not be the most well-known out there, we do very, very well, and our customers really love us, which is the most important thing. Okay, our mission and value proposition, as I mentioned, is to simplify the delivery of an integrated planning solution, taking advantage of all the Microsoft products that are out there. So today we're going to focus on Power BI and Excel, but you're going to see many different aspects of these products being used. So our back end is SQL Server and the tabular engine of analysis services. We work in an Azure platform. We can integrate with Teams, right? All those things are part of what we do today. We have built-in integrations with Microsoft Dynamics. So you'll see that as we go through the demonstration today. And again, how do we accomplish that as an overall solution? So that's what we're going to get into here. So when we talk about integrated planning, that's really tying the financial management, the financial CPM, the traditional, I would say, FP&A CPM capability with the operational side of the business, right? And so what we have focused on for years, like many CPM vendors, is around financial. But now with the capability and the interfaces that Power BI brings to the table, we're now able to kind of broaden our capabilities and go into the operational side. So traditionally, when you look at the Hyperions and the Outlook Soft or SAP BPCs and companies like that, they were very Excel focused because they were dealing with financial users who love Excel. But now as we get more into the operational side of the world where people aren't maybe as Excel focused outside of finance, right? We want to give them that ability to interact with their data in a better way. And Power BI, allows us to do that. And you'll see that as we go in here. So typically when we're integrating with source systems, we're bringing data in from various general ledgers or ERPs, depending on the type of data. Maybe they have data warehouses or data lakes set up. Maybe they have offline data in Excel, et cetera, et cetera. So we're able to bring that data together and consolidate that in one platform. And that platform is the tabular database engine that Microsoft provides with SQL Server. Now, Microsoft provides that capability, but what we've done with Power Planning is we've created the ability to build structure around that data. So traditionally, tabular engine is great at unstructured data, right? If you want to mash a bunch of data together and you have millions and millions of records, it's really, really good at that. The in-memory capability allows you to do quite a bit with it. But in our world, when we're doing planning, we do need structure. We do need dimensions and hierarchies, right? Because we want to manage the business in that way so we know how everything rolls up. We have our chart of accounts that roll up. We have our regions that roll up, our departments, our cost centers, right? We want to make sure we have that ability to roll up that data. And that's what we've created. So we've spent really the last 3 or 4 years creating this structure around the tabular database engine. It's a patented capability that we have now, and it allows us to build that structure around that tabular model. And you're going to see some good examples of that. Okay. So with that, we now have our easy to use tabular modeler, right? So that kind of allows us to build this capability, but it's easy to use, meaning it's made for the citizen developer. It's made for the business user. You do not need to be a technologist to start building tabular models. You don't need to go into Visual Studio. You don't need to go into DAX Studio, right? You can use our tabular modeler as a business user in a very easy way to build tabular models. And we're going to see some examples of that in a little bit. Then when we look at our interfaces, right, we have our native two-way Excel interface. We'll touch on this a little bit later. So you have the ability to read and write data, and you get all the benefits of Excel without the downside of Excel, right? What do we love about Excel? It's easy to use, the formatting, all that, right? We love that. But the downside of Excel is when you use Excel as its own database, you don't know what version of the file that you have. You have these, massive spreadsheets with 300 worksheets in them. You have, bad formulas that can break and cause issues, right? When we have our interface, it's just a window to that data from native Excel, but all those other issues go away. Full security, right? Full ability to calculate data in the database, both on real-time and procedural calculations, right? All that capability exists within that Excel interface because we're using this tabular engine as our backend. And then finally, we have the ability to also use Power BI in a two-way manner. So not only can we use Power BI for dashboards and scorecards, but now we can use Power BI to write data back in a budgeting and forecasting manner. And so the benefit of this is if the business or financial user wants to use Excel and the operational user wants to use Power BI, or they want to use both those solutions, that's great because that one centralized data model is the same. And so we give the users the power of choice. They get to pick whatever or both interfaces that they want, wherever they're most comfortable. Okay, so that's really the what we're bringing to the table and what we're going to show today. If we look at some of the functionality, and I added this slide in because when Stefan showed the original slides, financial consolidation was the third item in his list of 3 things that are important to customers in the next few months. One was planning, which we're going to see. One was advanced analytics, which we're going to see. And the third one was consolidation. And I wanted to just touch on the point that deFacto Power Planning brings that financial consolidation to the table as well. So where you can do things like built-in foreign currency exchange, built-in things like intercompany matching and eliminations, partial ownerships, right? All that capability is built in to our deFacto engine, and that tabular engine. It's all done in the background. It's all done at the database level, and it's all bulletproof within the back end. So you're not writing code to do that and calculate these things. It's just a matter of configuring it exactly how you want to do that. And then, of course, we have all these other capabilities as well that we bring to the table also. Okay, so that's really important. And I won't touch on this because I want to get to the demo, but you can see what we can do here as well as the financial consolidation and the planning piece of it. Okay, so in the demo, we're going to touch on first integrated planning via Power BI. Next, we're going to see a sales example and an S&OP example. Then we're going to see that in Excel as well. And then finally, if we have time, we're going to do a quick view of the tabular modeler so you can see how easy it is to manage those examples, right? So that's really important. So let's jump out to our demo here. So first off, and I'm just going to refresh this because I know Power BI loves to log me out. This is our sales example, right? So we're in our Power BI workspace. This is real Power BI, right? It's not an iframe or anything. We're living right in Power BI. And you can see we have our chiclet slicers that you may see here. And we have the ability to use these, to pick our data. And this is standard Power BI capability. It's nothing that we're bringing to the table here specifically. What we are bringing, though, are some custom controls, right? So here you can see this chart that you see here, and you see this grid that we have here. And what we're going to do is start manipulating our data right from within Power BI. And as I mentioned, the back end to this is our tabular model. So regardless if we're entering data via Power BI or Excel, we're hitting that same exact model. So I'm just going to uncheck Boston here because we're going to focus on New York. But you can see we have a car manufacturer. So we're looking at all these different types of cars. And what I can do is I can just simply come in here and I can enter a value, right? And then send that data in. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm entering a unit sale, right? So it's a number of units of cars that I think I can sell. And it's updating that in real time, as well as generating and calculating my revenue for me in real time, because in our database, we have both the price and cost level detail stored in the database. Okay, so that's the most important thing, is the ability to do that. And so we'll see that in the Excel where we see the price and cost, but that's a good idea. So very simply, I could just enter a single value. Where it gets really exciting, especially in Power BI, is the ability to model our data. So what we can do is say, okay, you know what? Instead of 16,068, I think I can sell 18,000 cars, if I could put this in, 18,000 cars for the year, right? And what it will do when I send this data, it's going to spread that based on the existing ratio that's already there, right? So it does a real-time allocation and then real-time calculation of my total sales and total revenue associated with that. So really powerful modeling capability. Same thing, I can go columnar-wise, right? If I said, well, I want to, instead of 2,600 units, I think I can sell 3,000 units in January. If I spread that, it's going to take the existing ratio of the 1120 to the prior value, and it's automatically going to spread that across my product line, okay? So really powerful modeling capability. If I want to do that at any intersection, I can do that as well. If I wanted to say, oh, I want to make this an even 9,000, right? I can do that also and just send that, and it will update that for me automatically. Now, what's also cool is if I wanted to take this a step further and say, you know what? I want to make this an even 18,000, right? I put an E in front of it, and we have all sorts of controls that allow you to do custom spreading and increase percentages and dollars. But here I'm just going to say even 18,000, and it's going to spread that for me evenly across the board. Okay, so really easy to model our data. That's out of the box functionality. There's nothing that needs to be programmed to do that. Just allows us to do that. In addition, if I feel like, hey, I'm a more graphical person, I want to do more inside of a chart because I can visualize. Well, you can see I have this up and down here. If I wanted to make a little kind of picket fence here, right, and see our data that way, I can easily just grab this. And what this is going to do, it's going to increase and decrease every other month for me. And when I save those changes, you'll see when this results in a second here, it will then show me the values. So I go 3,000, 5,000, 3,000, 5,000, right, et cetera, et cetera. So it's allowing me to alter my data and then calculating out my revenue and cost of goods. Well, you'll see cost of goods on the Excel side, but my revenue and cost of goods for me in real time, right? So not only am I entering my operational data here, but it's driving my financial data as well. And we'll see that on the Excel side. The second thing I want to show here, and I'll just do this quickly, but this is an S&OP demo. So this is taking it a step further, right? So not, oh, of course. So let me just refresh this. But the same idea here is that I'm entering sales units information, but now I'm tying in to operational data, things like inventory, things like sales units, supply units, what can I create? And I'm building, this chart off of that. So here I can choose different locations if I wanted. So if I wanted to see everything on a worldwide basis, I can just uncheck that. And then I'd see everything on a worldwide basis here, right? In this case, I just want to look at LA. So I'm just going to go in here and click on Los Angeles, and it's going to start me here. And then I have my product line here. And so I could choose whatever product I want, just like I saw on the prior page, right? So same thing here. This is a graphical chart that I can adjust if I wanted to, just like I did with the line chart on the prior slide. This is showing me what my supply units are, what my sales units are. So, basically what's available to me, what I've sold, and it's also showing my beginning inventory. And so the red is representative of, hey, I'm not building enough and I need to adjust for that. So I can come in here and maybe I add a new supply line, right? And I can come in here and make this 140 units that I can build and save those changes in the same way. And you'll see that not only is it entering and updating my inventory and updating my information here, but everything else is getting impacted as well when I do this, meaning it's updating anything having to do with my cost, my pricing, my revenue, et cetera, as part of that. Okay, so all that's occurring for me in real time. So all these updates occur. So here you can see I have an average unit cost, an average sales price. And once again, it's tying my information to my income statement and my balance sheet because I have the inventory that hits that. I have my sales and my costs associated with that as well. Okay, so just a quick example. If I did want to compare scenarios, I can do that also. So very simply, I could choose what my baseline scenario is, what my compared scenario is. I can have as many scenarios as I like within deFacto Power Planning. And then in a graphical manner, it will once again allow me to compare different things associated with that. My inventory levels, right? My supply that's coming in, right? I can easily do that and then make adjustments here in real time to that data. Okay, so that's quickly just the example, and you can see the power of our Power BI interface. So this is, again, focused more on the operational side of our business. And then now I'm just going to show you a little more in Excel on the financial side. Okay. Oops. Stefan, how much time do I have?
Something like 5-6 minutes. It's no problem if you run 2 or 3 minutes late. Everybody gets a chance to use a little more time.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So what I want to do is show you this again, and I'll just refresh our data here. And I want you to see, here's our revenue, 763.9 million. Here's our number of units, 50,000 units, right? And if I come back to my Excel interface, as you see here, you'll see when I refresh this worksheet, you're going to see those same values show up here, $763.9 million, 50,262. So again, regardless if I'm making my changes in Power BI or in Excel, the values remain the same. So likewise, if I came in here and I said, okay, I want to make this an even thousand, or I can use drag and drop functionality, right? I can send that data in from here as well, and this will write the data back to that same data model. Here we have, as I mentioned in the database, we have the price and cost level detail by product, by month. So it's calculating out all of our revenue and cost of goods, right, for me automatically. So when I go back then to my Power BI interface, right, I'll see that now $735 million when I update this revenue, right? There's my 735. So again, just to be clear, we're hitting the same data model. In addition, when we're doing this operational planning, it is, whether we realize it or not as a salesperson, it is automatically hitting our income statement and balance sheet and other financial statements as well. So here I can see I have a full income statement. And when I refresh this data, right, it will show me that same data that I just entered. Now, the way, and I want to make this a big Excel demo because I know the focus is on Power BI, but for us, it's very complementary. So this interface is very easy to use. And when we talk about the downsides of Excel, as I mentioned, right, when I bring data back, it's just values coming back. Even the roll-ups that you see here are just values coming back. So I'm not managing a bunch of formulas. I'm not dealing with links or anything like that. So again, all the downside of Excel goes away, but I get all the upside of Excel as far as how I want to format, all those kinds of things. I can enter commentary. I can audit any data that's entered, right? So all that ability is there. If I wanted to take it a step further, I could even do things like salary planning. So if I click on salaries, you'll see another Excel template open up. This will show me all the people that are in the New York location, what their salaries are, all their fringe, all those kinds of things. If I wanted to add a new hire, I can simply click on this. And again, this is all capability within our tabular model. So if I said, oh, they can work 100% of the time, we'll give them a $20 per hour. And of course, you can have annual. That'll calculate for us automatically. And a 2% raise come January. When I send that data in, it's going to not only write that data back, but it's going to calculate out all my salary and fringe information for me in real time. And then share that same data with, because of the data model, it's available in Power BI. And of course, it's going to hit my income statement directly. So when I refresh this data, this is for this year. That's why I don't see any values here. And it does that across the board here and shows me those values. So when I go back over here and I look at my total salary and fringe information, you're going to see all that information update here as well, okay, in real time. So that's quickly the power of choice, meaning I can use Excel, I can use Power BI. It's up to the user and what the use case is, but the clear capability of having that centralized data model is really what's most important. And then talking about that data model, I just want to show you the modeler that we have. This is where we're managing the model that we saw inside of Excel, right? We have an HR model, we have a finance model. Here are dimensions. You can have as many dimensions as you want, but this interface is for administrators only. It's not for your traditional end user, but it is made to be managed by business users. So if I go to my entity dimension as an example, I can have alternate hierarchies on my data, right? So I can view my data in different ways. I can set up properties here. If I check this out, I can easily add new hierarchies if I wanted and see the different types of properties that I have. I could see my universe of members. Typically, this will come from my source systems, but I could enter stuff here as well, or I could even enter it via Power BI if I wanted to and manage it that way. And if I look at my hierarchies here, here's that regional view of our data that we saw inside of both Excel and Power BI. But if I looked at, maybe I have a different org, in this case, I have a functional org as well, I can easily see now my data or my data rolling up as I wish. And if I want to move things around, if I want to make New York part of G&A, I can easily just drag and drop things however I want as part of that. So it's really easy to manage these models and the calculations inside of our modeler, and everything else follows suit. And again, then you can use either Excel or Power BI against that data. We have full security, database locks for when you're done with a budget. You want to say pencils down, everybody, right? We can lock the database and no one can make changes to that. The ability to do dynamic members using DAX, you can build right here. And also business rules that we can have that are procedural in nature. So it could be things like allocations. It could be things like the unit times rate calculations that we had. That's what we just saw when we entered sales data. It's calculating this in real time for us, right? So it's doing our revenue calculation for us right here within the application. Okay, so that's just a quick overview. Oh, go ahead, Stefan, sorry.
Great, Anthony. Thanks a lot for the presentation. Fascinating to see the different approaches. There's one question which I would like to ask now, and another one I would like to announce to the end because it goes to at least 2 of 3. The first one for you is, as you offer Excel and Power BI native interface, so to say, both totally in parallel, as I understand, and you are selling typically to the Office of Finance, am I right that a big portion of the users will go for Excel just because they're used to it?
So traditionally, we've sold to the Office of Finance, but with the Power BI capability, it now allows us to sell also to IT and to the operational side of the business. So we're able to expand on how we sell to our clients.
But what would you guess the percentage of users, if they have both options, that take Excel and not Power BI, or the other way around in your user base? Is it 50-50 or?
So right now it's probably 70-30 in Excel, but we see that number increasing on the Power BI side every month.
takes some time to get people used to and to see the benefits, I guess.
Right, and with existing customers where we've already sold, it has been traditionally FP&A. So we're seeing more activity out of new customers because we're able to show this to us. Mm-hmm. And then the existing customers are starting to come around and build projects as they see the value here to get the operational side of their business involved. And as they're using more and more Power BI at these companies as well.